So out of these setup requests from teachers, the first one was for English. Recently we've been reading and studying The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman, and the idea of the yellow wallpaper in the book is that the patterns and a bunch of other aspects of it are just quite annoying, and I wanted to replicate that with dominoes here. So first of all, I went online to have a look at just sort of like annoying wallpaper designs. There wasn't much that came up, but I did find this, which was quite inspiring. Like, it's a bit annoying, and it does actually repeat itself, but it took me a long time to notice that. So when I came to do my own field of an annoying yellow wallpaper, I sort of took some of the shapes from that, and that, well, there's sort of these curtain-type lines going through a bunch of other random jutting lines, and it repeats. There are also these flowers I put around to try and make it look prettier, but because they're so geometric, it doesn't really look much prettier. Let's knock this one down. So now that this has been toppled, what weird things do you see in this wallpaper? I can certainly notice a couple. Let me know in the comments. Next up was art, where we've been recently looking through the work of British contemporary ceramicist Grayson Perry. And, well, there are pretty much only two things he does, those being ceramic vases and tapestries. And, well, it's fairly self-explanatory. I was just told to do one or the other, but maybe leaning a bit more towards the tapestry side. So I had this tapestry image that is essentially on like a weird pulley you'll see in the final thing, where it's a picture that gets launched up to the top. And then the main thing we have here is this pot, which I replicated from this design, and essentially is really detailed because of all the mini dominoes I ended up putting on it. But with that all done, let's knock it down. So that was pretty cool, right? Do let me know if you want to see me do more of these pulleys on the full wall like this. Next up we have RE, and here I was told to follow the theme of stewardship. To be more specific, I was told to be building like this area that seems not very well cared for, and then this quite pretty nature scene. And the way I did this was with two walls, which you can see the time lapse for now. The first one I just did as like a factory, because, you know, not great for the environment, not really caring about it too much. And then a tree for then showing what the area could be. So now that you've seen both of these time lapses, let's knock them both down. Here we have the factory, or the poor example of stewardship. And here we have the tree, the much better example of stewardship. Next up was maths, where I got given quite a lot of ideas, but mainly summarised down to representation of sequences with use of polygons and chain reactions in the background. Starting off with quadratic here, we have 5 different towers here, but each tower has one more domino in each layer and is 2 layers taller. And then moving on, we have arithmetic, where I definitely drilled the polygon idea and made 4 different polygons, all increasing by 1 line in each next one. And then we have probably my favourite, the Fibonacci wave, which is definitely something I want to do more in future videos, because from swapping from the blue to the pink, it's forming a Fibonacci sequence, and I think it's really cool, like, because normally if you're doing a split thing like this, you'd always have it into 2 or something. So I think having it into 1 or 2, like I've done here, is quite an interesting concept. And finally, we also have a major split ends for a geometric sequence. It's not that major. There was a bit of lack of time and space. And then when I think of chain reactions, the first thing that comes to mind is Rube Goldberg machines, which definitely isn't my specialty. So the next thing really to think of was KiwiCo, or like this chain reaction product thing that I don't really use that much. So I set that up around, and now that that's done, let's topple this. French is next, and I'm going to dive straight in with this one. So we started with a French flag, which I definitely built the right way around the first time, and then going off from that we had a load of French food. And the ones I built here were macaron, éclair. I was going to build a pan au chocolat there, but then I ran out of tan dominoes because the éclair absolutely consumed the tan dominoes. And then quiche Lorraine on the right and escargot, or snail, on the left. So with that all quickly done, let's knock this down. History is next, and this one's also quite self-explanatory. Just some World War I trenches, and well, when I first heard that I should be doing a replica of this in dominoes, I thought it wasn't going to be that easy, and it wasn't at first. I mean, I didn't do like multiple rows of trenches just because I do not have that many dominoes. But we have one Allied trench and one German trench on the left and right respectively, and then no man's land in the middle, and then the grass on both sides. I know there wouldn't have been grass, but I didn't have nearly enough brown dominoes. I also then, as an extra detail, I then put some flowers on the sides of each trench because, well, the different countries seem to have different remembrance flowers. But anyway, with that all covered, let's knock this down. Now for geography, I'm combining two topics we did recently, those being development and superpowers. Firstly, with development, I decided to, well, look up some bar charts, and one that stuck out to me was the population of England over the years, as you can see me building up now. I think it's quite interesting to see it, and especially considering that the colours are all so close together, I think it turned out really well. The other thing is the Middle East borders, which I decided to do as a turtle field. This is actually the biggest turtle field I've done. It's well over 1,000 dominoes. But with them many dominoes, I managed to do, well, a pretty accurate representation of the borders. This is by far the largest feature request set up so far, at 2,500 dominoes, but with that done, let's knock this down. Finally, we have science, and this one's a bit of a special case, because instead of just having, like, a simple idea to build, my science teacher planned out every aspect of the setup, which was great, but well, I guess I had to follow the whole thing. I had to change a few things, but the slightly adapted version is as follows. We start with a cloud of cotton balls and thin layers of tissue to represent the cloud of dust and gas that eventually becomes a nebula. And this is then blown away by a fan to start a domino line, which then moves on to some tipping of electronic dominoes, which will flash on for a few seconds to symbolise the bright birth of a star. These of course do turn off eventually, and while they are flashing, there is a fireworks spiral going off, like how plasma would be swirling in a star. However, the star will never live forever, and eventually it goes on to a supernova. For this, I did an elastic bomb, which is essentially where I have kinetic planks and elastic bands. It's quite volatile, but is a big explosion. And then a marble run, which ends at a black hole. With all of this done, let's knock this down. So overall, this setup didn't have many dominoes, but it did have a lot of technical aspects to it. Let me know what you thought of this in the comments.